What is up, my beautiful gemstones? I see 5 eyes, but I don't see anyone in chat yet. That is perfectly okay. Starting just a few minutes late today. Not really sure what's on the agenda. I forgot to ask what the topic might be today, but we'll just take it take it as we go. The goat, yes. Well, you know, I do my best. Yes, thank you. I am back. I am back for now. I don't know what's going to happen in the coming weeks with it being summertime as far as my schedule, but the stream should still be here for sure. That might end up being the stream where Steven and Ryan come together, or a stream. So, so good to see you guys. Let me bring them in.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello.
And
thank you, Area 51. So I keep seeing it in the comments. I did have one of the wigs on today, but you know what, with summer coming, it gets kind of hot. So, you know, we'll see where that goes.
What's up, Area 51? I got my own name for him, by the way. It's going to be Homie Juan Kenobi.
I like it. Jason Pritchard, what's up? So what do you find gentlemen up to today? Ghost Dragons, I know you had some stuff you were dealing with your family last night. And if you aren't feeling up to it, then, you know, you can always dip out and we could always talk afterwards. I didn't think about that until just now, or I would have said it backstage. But just so you know, I just remembered. I'm like, why is he being such a sourpuss? Like rolling my eyes. And then I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
Well, it's just the fact that he waited till after he got home to tell us, and that's what upset him.
I know. What is up, slow motion? Richard Elmore, family stuff. You know, we've all got them. For better or for worse, I guess. You know. So yeah, I did. Oh, I wanted to tell you guys about a funny comment I received. Not a bad one. It was like I told you so, right? So when I put out the Galactic Federation of Light video yesterday, I said it in the video. I say it all the time. Like, even the most diehard paranormal, what's up, Mom? Supernatural fans, like, I lose them at the Galactic Federation of Light. Like, the minute I start talking about it, they draw their hard line. Like, they'll believe anything up to that point. And then it's just like, once you start talking about yes, they are a nut slap. Once you start talking about a federation of extraterrestrials or interdimensionals that meet inside of the moon, it starts, some people start. So someone commented, listen, I got halfway through the video and I don't think I'm ready for this yet. And I was like, no, and you know, that's okay. I put it out there for whoever is ready to receive it. And if you're not, that's perfectly okay. I think as long as you're not attacking someone else because of their experience or their opinion, I don't expect everyone to go along with every single thing I say on this channel. That would be ridiculous of me if I did, you know. So, but I did appreciate the way this person, it was Miss Wendy Williams, was so just nice about it. She wasn't, you know, what I normally get. I did a short about, some of you probably saw it, where I was like, is that person running? It's 7 a.m. Somebody actually wrote in the comments, like, why do you not understand that people have jobs and they do things early in the morning? Are you drunk or just stupid? And I'm like,
wow.
I'm like, that's not even my real voice. Obviously, you don't know what a short is because it's one interpretation of 1,000 of somebody else's voice saying something. But it like reminded me of just how if some people are having a bad day, they just wake up looking for, and I used to do it before I got on YouTube. I would go into like the YouTubers who I did not like and I would pick on them. And now this is my karma, right? Now that I'm trying to be a better person and not do that, and I'm on YouTube. So I've been taking it with a grain of salt, but that person was just so butthurt about a joke, and it was weird. Yes, they are Pennywise earrings. I got them for $1 at Temu. So, nice. Mom, good to see you. What do you guys want to talk about? You guys usually have something planned. Sometimes you don't. I'm ready to go with the flow.
We got the Loveland Frogman on the agenda today.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Not familiar with that one.
Oh, okay. I'm sure Ghost is, though. I mean, he lives in Ohio, so.
Actually, I think I did hear of that. Hey, Blue-Eyed Northern. I have heard of that, but it might have been maybe Ghost Dragon saying we want to talk about the level, because I know that like I have like like, you know how like when you first hear of something, like an image will project into your head, whether it's right or wrong. It's just like that's what you associate. So I just have this particular image of this thing in my head because somebody has mentioned it before. So
yeah, so a little frogman holding the magic wand.
Yes.
No, it's actually of that. Yeah, the Warner Brothers frog, but he's like hopping across the room.
Yep.
He's doing regular frog stuff with the top hat on. I don't know why, but that is how I know that I've heard of this, because I have that very specific image in my head. What's up, Jarvis?
I always think of Battletoads for some reason. I was a big fan of that video game. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the video games. Whenever someone was like, oh, Frogman, I'm like, Battletoads.
I was going to say Frogger.
And they just look at me like, no, Ryan, Frogman, not Battletoads. I'm like, no, Battletoads. Or Frog from Ninja Turtles. That's another
one.
That is true.
Me and Chris both. Chris lives about 30 minutes from where it happened, and I was about that. I was a little closer, I think, when I lived down there.
Well,
where are you from where Chris lives?
Well, right now I'm about 2 hours away, about an hour and a half.
Okay, so far.
But when I lived in Cincinnati running a Bonanza down there, I lived in. He lives, I believe, in Clarain. I lived in Clarain too, closer to Harrison, Ohio. Yeah, fishing the little. My dad. Oh, his dad saw it, but yeah. It's nice down there. I liked it down there.
I got this image of a frogman fishing. You meant your dad was fishing. He didn't see like.
No, his dad was fishing, and he saw the frogman across the other side fishing too.
that was immediately what I thought, and I'm like, wow. And then I'm like, oh no, Gemma, don't say that out loud. That's not that's an inside thought.
Oh, she's an old
That's
Milford.
Okay.
Old Milford, is that so? Ryan or Steven, one of you guys, why don't you tell us what it is, what the legend is, or what you know about it, or whatever.
Okay, so on March 3rd, 1972, about 1 o'clock in the morning, a guy named
it was 3:30
Ray.
in the morning.
No, it's 1 o'clock. Ray was driving home. Now the story varies. Some people say he was a traveling salesman or whatever, but he was traveling home, and he saw something run across the street. And when he stopped to look to see what it was, he saw a 3 to 4 foot tall bipedal being that resembled a bipedal frog, and it was holding a magical wand as it stopped across the little traffic rail. And that's how the frogman was born. That was the start of the legend. But
so you weren't kidding about it holding a magic wand?
No, I wasn't. Not at all. Not at all. But it's funny though, because there's actually frogman sightings or frog being sightings that go back before 1972.
Well, the first sighting
was not the first. Is this the first or the only frog? I know there are like lizard beings, but like frog-like being in this area. Because for some reason I can't think of the name of it, but I'm thinking of something else from Ohio that is. I gotta look around in my notes and I will find it. There's something else in Ohio that is reminding me of this. So I'm gonna do that while you guys talk and I'll listen.
Okay. So go on, Steven. You want to add something?
Well, actually, from what I read and what I have in my notes, the encounter took place in 1955, like you said, and it was at 3:30 in the morning. He was coming home from a business trip, Robert Honeycutt, and he saw 3 of them because he actually got out of the car and he was going to take one. And that's when he pulled out the wand and sparks came out of it. And it scared him and he ran off.
You know where that comes from, actually? That's a retelling of the story from Russia. Because in the 50s, Russian people in a small town, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of the town because I'll butcher it horrendously. So they were hearing weird noises and they were seeing strange lights at a dam nearby. One night, they actually went out to look and they saw 3 frog beings instead of just one. And they threw a stick at it. And that's when it moved with a very sharp movement and pulled out the magic wand. So what someone did with that story there, Stephen, is they took the Russian incident and they applied it to an American town.
Because I know about the second one in 1972. No, I've had that written down for a long time too. You know how old these notes are?
Pretty old, huh? Older than you?
Just about. Yeah, because the second sighting was in 72, and that was at 1:32, I believe. And that was by a police officer, I believe.
Yeah, see how the story changes? It's interesting how when they tell the story of the Frogman, it goes into all these changes, like a metamorphosis.
Telephone effect.
Yeah, telephone, telegraph, tell a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the third one, well, the other one, which was in 2016, which was a video, but they were playing Pokemon Go down along Cincinnati, and supposedly caught this footage, but it's pretty much a hoax. I think a lot of people believe it's a hoax. That's why I didn't grab the video, because it's pretty.
Well, some people say it's an iguana. Some people think the Frogman's just a loose iguana that was running around Ohio.
Which is highly possible. So goofy.
Well, I mean, according to Mark Matthews, I mean, he saw it too, not too long after the original sighting in 1972. So when he saw it, though, he didn't describe it as a frog. He described it as an iguana. So a lot of people go with the whole, oh, it's a pet iguana that got out, or a wild iguana, or something along those lines. Yeah. Nobody's hating on Pikachu.
Nobody's hating on Pikachu.
Nope.
I was just never.
We wouldn't dare. Oh, me neither.
Too old for
Though
that.
I should have been.
No, my son was.
So the first thing I kind of have to ask here is, could this be like a reptilian, interdimensional or extraterrestrial? What was it said to look like?
I'm very glad you brought that up, because I got a story that suggests it's an alien. So ironically, there was a frog being sighted in Arizona. Oh, go ahead.
Hold on. And in some areas, I don't know about Chris, but in some of the people up here and around my area, they consider the Frogman part of the Lizard Man lore. So go ahead, Ryan.
Okay, so there is actually a story from 1982 that took place in Phoenix, Arizona. A young woman was actually walking home, and she saw a very large orange globe. That's how she described it. It was globe-shaped. It wasn't an orb or anything like that. It was globe-shaped that had a darker iris in the center of it. And when she stopped to look at it, she was thinking about running home to tell her mother about this UFO sighting she was having. And allegedly, she heard some voice in her head telling her, don't tell. And the iris of this ship opened up larger, and she saw the driver, or the pilot, if you will, and it was a frog-like being. So, you get a bipedal frog alien right there, and then you get the Frogman in Ohio. Yeah. Is there some kind of connection?
I always think that I always connect these types of beings. What's up, Marie? Good to see you. These types of kind of, I don't want to say one-off, but like one-off where like they're not seen all the time, like Bigfoot nowadays is seen like these kind of one-off or two-off entities that we see all over the place. And I will find the name of the other Ohio entity. It's a big, big one. But I always think they've got to be some sort of alien or ET rather. I mean, even with like cryptids, you would see, I go back and forth, right? Because if it's some sort of cryptid, right, that hasn't been discovered yet, or that lives underground or under somewhere where we wouldn't be able to really see it or come across it, then it would be specific to that region more than likely, right? Because not many cryptids are like Bigfoot where you see them everywhere. But then I think it's more than likely extraterrestrial, because a ship could very well have crashed somewhere or landed somewhere in that area at that time to do some sort of examination of like the dirt or wherever, something around where it was. And I got to be honest with you, Ohio is like, I know they say it's Alaska, Illinois, and Indiana are like the big three for hauntings, but Ohio, maybe not for hauntings, but for paranormal, just like it's being weird. We have weird New Jersey here. Ohio, I think, is like much weirder than anything that we have in New Jersey.
Yeah, right. UFOs. We have quite a few haunted spots. Some good lore. There's an apple grove that is down in southern Ohio that is supposedly haunted by Johnny Appleseed. Now,
Ohio's too weird, man.
Yeah, not too many people talk about it. Not too many people talk about it. It's an interesting place. A lot of people say it's kind of just a fairy tale, but I know people that had been on the apple orchard at night, and they do have footage. Now, this was back in 74, 75. When you had the old super millimeter cameras. And
we weren't born yet, Ghost. You're the old man here.
Yeah. They actually had footage of what looked like a spectral, and it looked like it had a pan on its head. Like they say about Johnny Appleseed. They say it's weird. Now, I don't know if he still has the footage. I haven't talked to the guy. Man, I was only in my teens.
I didn't know Johnny Appleseed was a real person until I just had to look it up, and I'm seeing images of some dude with a pan on his head, and it says that he introduced apple trees to large parts of Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and Ontario, as well as northern counties of West Virginia. Right. That's probably why we didn't learn about him here, because he didn't introduce apple stuff, I guess.
He actually went and planted apple trees all over the place. And a lot of people were, he's kind of a folklore, kind of odd kind of character that's running around.
Yeah. Like I said, though, Ohio's just way too weird, man. It's like they see some other state being weird, and they're like, we can do better than you. And they create something else weirder.
Yeah, it's true, though.
I think the Frogman, there's a good chance that it is some sort of extraterrestrial. And I know that's hard for a lot of people to wrap.
Or a dimensional being. He's carrying a wand that shoots out sparks. You would think that he was twerking himself to another dimension.
Well, there you go. That's the thing. When I say interdimensional and I say extraterrestrial, or when I say interdimensional and I say spirit, to me they're one and the same. I use the specific of like extraterrestrial or spirit, deceased person. I do that for you guys, not you guys specifically, but for like the community, so they understand. Because for me, it's like they're all coming from a different dimension, whether it's out in space or out in what we call space or somewhere else. But I feel like for some reason, though, like Ohio just has, like, they've landed more there, because I do think too that once a being has landed somewhere and they found something there that they were looking for, or that they find interesting, like Ghost, you said, and you both said they were carrying this little magic wand looking thing. Was that to control a ship somewhere nearby? Was that to open a portal? I mean, it sounds very fantastical to think that there's a bipedal frog running around with a Harry Potter wand zapping portals open in the forest. But at the same time, is it really that weird? Knowing what most of us know, to me, no. I'd be more willing to believe that than to not believe it at this point, with everything I've learned in the past, even just the past 4 years, my own personal experiences aside, what I've learned from all of you about your own experiences and just general research, I would believe it more than I wouldn't.
They're talking about all these other places. I'm going to tell you, Ohio's weird, but there are other states that have just as much weird stuff go on. Washington. I've been to Colorado. Some of the crazy stories I heard when I was in Colorado, up around Estes Park. Now that's the home of the Stanley Hotel. And but people would tell me other stories about the Rockies, and what they, not only Bigfoot stories, but just weird stories. So I'd say everybody
everybody has their stuff. I just feel like, for some reason, that whenever I hear about something particularly strange, like, again, a walking frog or a running frog carrying a Harry Potter wand, I will immediately in my head say Ohio.
Yeah.
Arizona has a ton of strange happenings too. I mean, every state, every place has
Arizona's
its thing,
weird too.
I feel like the bulk of it is in Ohio. And as far as Arizona, is it Arizona? Oh no, it was New Mexico where I got that encounter story from the person who saw the Lizzies. There's a show where this woman encountered a Lizzie at a taco truck and thought she was going to be abducted. And the people in New Mexico were like, oh yeah, they're just the reptilians that live among us. Like, we don't worry about, like, what? Nobody worries about the buzzing and tau. You just get used to it. And if you're not from there, oh, bring earbuds. But what is it? Why was it okay that there are walking lizards wearing hoodies among you? I don't, to me, I would want to know, like, I want to talk to one and I want to find out, like, I want information and details, but New Mexico's like, nope, that's just ignore them.
That is really weird. And Wendy had a really important question. She asked where Duke is. Duke. Hey, Duke, buddy.
Is that your dog?
Yeah, he's right there, Miss Wendy. You can see him.
He's sitting in
my aunt has a dog named Duke too. Actually, it's my cousin's dog. It's like a human.
So
it's this gigantic black dog. It's like a human.
These frog being sightings, though, they go way back to the 50s. They really do. There was the trying to remember the Pemex oil workers. They were reporting seeing frog-like beings too. And I'm not talking about scuba divers, the frogman scuba divers. They were seeing, actual frog-faced beings that were walking around. So there's got to be something to that. It was in Mexico. It's Pemex oil. Okay. They were on the oil rig in the middle of the water. So, when they're out there, they're going to see some pretty weird stuff.
There are, and those are the types of places. I think it's only when it comes into like the residential areas or like the urban areas or even I guess the areas where there are people, I should say, is when we start finding out about them. We don't know, again, and I say it all the time, what is underneath 8% of our water, you know? So I think it's good in a way that some of them either go rogue or get lost or, fall out of a ship or crash, because otherwise, like, we don't know what we're dealing with. There could be a whole flipping race of Ohio frogmen in Ohio or in anywhere else, and they just live, again, deep in the swamp, and maybe possible. The reptilians are more dominant. Reptilians, in my experience and from the research that I've managed to dig up over the past few years, they're very militant. Like, they may not be like biological creatures. They may have been made they made one of the species of grays, either tall or short grays, to be like military, to be militant, which is why when you're abducted by one particular grays, and I think it's the short grays, but I'm not sure, it's like a better experience. It's like a kinder, more compassionate abduction experience. As to the tall grays are always described as unfeeling, cold, cruel, even. And that's because they were allegedly made, engineered by the reptilian species. So how do we know that walking lizard people are the only reptilian or amphibious species of interdimensional or extraterrestrial that there are? We can't possibly know that because 50 years ago, or probably even, closer to our time than that, 20 years ago, if you said there was a race of walking lizards running around, you would have been committed, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And now I think in this community, we've all kind of come to accept that there is, an extraterrestrial race of reptilians, and we all have different opinions and opinions of and experiences with them. So.
Well, I mean, the extraterrestrial thing makes a lot of sense, because why would a frogman come to Arizona? It's incredibly hot during the summer here. I mean, we're talking 113, 114. Not ideal for a frog. Not ideal at all.
No.
Unless you're cooking frog's legs, and there you go,
Did you, I don't know if you caught it. I know with YouTube, I get too busy to watch other people's YouTube channels, no matter how much I want to. But somewhere towards the end of the Galactic Federation of Light video that I did, now when I think of Ohio, I always think of Ghost Dragons. Now when I think of Arizona, I think of you. And the Phoenix Lights was actually the Yahyel species of extraterrestrial that are a part of the Galactic Federation. And I think it was 97 or 98. They thought, that's it. We're going rogue. We're not asking anyone's permission. We're not waiting for permission. We are going to show ourselves to the humans, and the humans are going to have an awakening. They're going to understand. The Phoenix Lights was not a part of our timeline, nor was it supposed to happen. It is extraterrestrial. It is interdimensional. And it was the Yahyel species, capital Y-A, capital Y-E-L-L species. I don't know if they had any repercussions for that, but that had the Federation really scrambling because they had asked for permission to do it and they were not given permission to do it. And they just had a lot of faith in us as humanity, a lot of faith in humanity that we would have this immediate awakening of the collective consciousness. And after they did the Phoenix Lights, when really it really just kind of confused us, and it's been like this whole big conspiracy. But I say with certainty that it actually was an extraterrestrial thing. It was them showing themselves in the hopes that the people that were Yahyel or have Yahyel DNA would immediately connect with that part of their DNA and activate. Okay. And it didn't happen. So sometimes the reason I bring that up is because is it like sometimes we see one frogman, or, you know, like with me, one deer woman. And I think that's more cryptid, but just as an example, that they want to show themselves to us or to somebody to see if maybe someone with the DNA, with their DNA will activate, right? Will come to this understanding of what they're there for. Because I do think that we all have extraterrestrial DNA somewhere down the line, you know, how active it is and, you know, how deep it is in our blood is a different story, some more than others. And I think that's why some people are born with abilities. Some people are born with none and no belief. That is about what part of our DNA is activated. And I feel like the reason we're seeing these one-off or two-offs is because they're either here looking for something and they found it, so they came back again a time or two to get more or to find more, or they're trying to get the people with their DNA to maybe activate. Maybe that guy he just didn't know. Or is it, I lost the thought, but I had a really good reason why he might have been here.
Can you imagine?
I don't know. Go ahead, guys. I tend to talk myself in circles.
In the middle of the road and it twitches its wand and you find out that you've got frog man DNA in your body.
Which, I mean, it sounds crazy, but maybe not everyone. That's what I was going to ask. Maybe not everyone.
I have webbed toes. Does that mean I'm part frog man?
Well, it could mean that you have some sort of reptilian or something DNA in you somewhere down the line. And it doesn't mean that everyone with so quote unquote frogman or reptilian DNA is going to look like a reptile. They may have something where with their eyes, they may not. The human DNA or other species DNA may just have taken over more. I was going to ask, were there any reports, and you may not know, but were there any reports of abductions from this being or from any other extraterrestrial race in the area at the time? No.
Usually they're just sightings.
Yep. It's just like, you know, brief sightings and then they vanish for a bit and then down the road somebody else sees it and then it vanishes for a bit and then, you know. So I guess on certain days the frogman's feeling a bit froggy, but
you know, sometimes I think these sightings, these one-off sightings are by accidents. Like they accidentally popped into our realm and it was like, what are we doing here? Where are we? You know? Kind of thing.
Then the next second they almost get hit by a car because they appeared in the middle of the street and then they're running. Their wand's broken. I do get a really like hectic energy off of this information. Like when you first said it, I immediately started feeling like very hectic in my energy. So like maybe you know, maybe you're right. Maybe it just accidentally like the wand misfired and they ended up in the middle of the street almost getting hit by a car. And what is that other? Okay, I've got to look up this other entity in Ohio because it's driving me crazy. It was another entity that almost got hit by a car that was crossing a street that jumped down into a gutter. But I don't think it was. I would remember if it was Frogman. It was something else. Hold on.
We have Frogman. We
Grass
have
Man.
Bunny Man. Which
I've covered it. I've covered it on my channel before.
What was the other one? So we had a Rat Boy. That's
This thing was seen in somebody's yard, and like the police were called, and it was hopping from yard to yard. It looked really, it was like really, but I gotta find it.
Yeah, grass man, dog man. I mean, we've got some weird stuff. Or grass man is squatch. It just, I always thought grass man was just a little taller than us, and Mothman, yeah.
To show how weird Ohio is, though, Jody Cook found a baboon skull out there.
Melonhead, yes. No, say it again.
Jody Cook, the head of the NADP, he found a baboon skull out there.
Yes, I heard about that. It was like, what? The Melonhead stories are real interesting stories. Was it a dog boy I had heard about? Now, see, I've heard stories about a dog boy
I'm looking.
too. Your mom asked.
Oh no, Mom! It was definitely an extraterrestrial creature. It was something that looked very bizarre, and like a 10-year-old boy came across it, and then it's driving me crazy. I've got to find it. If I don't, I'll put it in the comments of this video.
It's gonna drive you nuts
because
now,
it is driving me crazy because I've literally covered it a couple times on this channel in the encounter stories, or with just going through like, weird one-off sightings of entities, and I'm 99% sure it happened in Ohio, whatever it was.
So, Ghost, do you have any notes on the Shane Thomas encounter with the Frogman?
Is that the one that's in Hold on. There was a couple of them. That was
Shane Thomas.
Was it?
Yep, it was in Virginia. It was a little boy, actually. His encounter was really interesting, Gemma. So this little boy in 1957 was woken up by sounds of frogmen walking through his walls. And when he woke up, he saw 2 or 3 of them in his room, and out the window, there was more on his porch. And he blacked out. That's what they assume, is he blacked out. And when he woke up, all these frog creatures were gone. So they were phasing through walls.
Well, I believe it. And that's another thing that goes to show me that this probably is not cryptid. I don't think cryptids can phase through walls. That is definitely some kind of futuristic tech, or it is magic, like portals, and really it's all tech. The thing that I talked about with the GFL with the moon, it's not that the moon is a biological thing. It was made with technology to be a base for this quadrant of the Milky Way. Is it the creeks or the swamps where they see the frogmen? I've got an interesting story here, maybe a little unrelated, if you want to go ahead and answer that.
Well, it's nearby. It's nearby. Yeah. It's not on the swamps or the creeks, but it's nearby.
No, it's been seen at the Miami River. Supposedly, I've heard a story or two about it down along the Ohio River, along the northern, over by the bridge.
Right.
A couple of the bridges. But those were encounters I'd heard personally from people at a campsite who camped there every year. But I've never heard of the stories being around creeks or swamp. But man, I would imagine down in Louisiana, not only would you have a lizard man or anything like that, you would have creatures like that. Maybe
the lizard man
areas of those swamps have never been touched.
There's a couple things here I want to address, but I'll try to do it very quickly because there's a couple other things I want to talk about too. So Blue Eyed Northern says the Ohio River and tributaries are so polluted. So hear me out. Now, I don't think this is a frog that got into the polluted water and morphed. And I do know there are people out there who will present that as a theory. It's just the toxins making the regular frogs look a little bigger, and it's a trick of the light. I don't think that at all. But are these particular extraterrestrials who maybe live on a planet or in a place where their main place of living is swamp? coming here because of that pollution to try to check it out and see what they can do for it, see how the humans are destroying their ancestors and relatives' habitats. Because let me tell you something, the Lyrans are a species of ET I'm going to talk about at length and in depth on this channel in my Let's Discuss series that I just started with the GFL. They are connected. They look like bipedal humanoid cats. They are the most protective over human beings. They are pretty much the main reasons the reptilians haven't freaking eaten us yet. And they are very much connected in their DNA to our domestic and wild cats. So what's to say that this giant frogman or these frogmen are not here to see how we are polluting the habitats and natural homes of their relatives, so to speak?
Could be. Wendy
had a question, and then I wanted to talk about one other thing.
Let me be devil's advocate real quick, though, for the people who say it's just an animal and it's hard to live in pollution.
Of course.
Okay, so there are animals that can actually adapt to extreme circumstances. I mean, there's animals that adapt to radiation. Chernobyl. If you actually look at Chernobyl, the animals there are evolving faster than normal animals.
Yes,
so
they are.
Look how quick they adapted. So if it's pollution, they can adapt to that too. Just in case somebody wants to say it's an animal. I'm not saying it is. I don't agree it's an animal. I don't think it's a cryptid. I think it's extraterrestrial or interdimensional. But in case somebody wants to argue it.
So Wendy wants to know, she said, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No.
She said, Gemma, you're the resident alien expert. Do you think ETs could present as frogs but aren't frogs? So maybe their real form is too much for a person to accept. Just thinking. So that's actually a really good way to think. I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. But that's really good thinking, because I've said many times, sometimes a shadow entity is not it's not a shadow entity. It's a being from a different timeline or from outer space. I hate outer space. I don't know why I said that. From, another planetary system, or it's an extraterrestrial who its visage or visage is too much for us to be able to accept. And in this 3D reality on Earth, it has to present itself as shadow. That's the only way our eyes can handle it. So while that does happen, I don't think so with the frogmen. I just think that is how they look. And they're from probably some planet that has, is nothing but swampland, or some dimension where they're somehow and for some reason passing through. And what Blue-Eyed Northern said about the Ohio River and the tributaries, that struck me, because they really don't like pollution of the mind or of the planet, right? So they're going to want to look into that. They're going to want to investigate that. I can't tell you how many encounter stories I've gotten from people where they talk about seeing UFOs and seeing extraterrestrials, and they're collecting soil samples from the middle of the woods. They're collecting samples of, the foliage, the flora. Why? Because they want to know, I think, what we're doing to it and how to reverse any effects that we're having on it with our pollution. So that was a great train of thought there. Absolutely. So my mom said, and this is for you guys would know, I don't, and if you can't hear me, let me know, because I see my Wi-Fi going crazy. My mom said, is it a dog boy? I've heard of that. Is dog boy, is this, I know it's going to sound so stupid, but it's a Gemma question. Is dog boy, would that be like dog man, but like smaller? Like, what is the dog boy? Is it like a kid dog?
No. What I think that was, I think the boy who was the dog boy had that disease. I forgot what the disease is called, though, where they grow the fur on their face, and because
they also considered werewolf men or stuff like that.
Right, but
she's got me thinking of like
yeah.
She's got me thinking of like a small cryptid, like a small werewolf. I'm thinking, like, hugging on its dad's claw, like, who are you going to eat today, Dad? And I know that sounds ridiculous, but if you think of, aside from the Jersey Devil, if you think of even cryptids, they've got to have young, because otherwise, how are there so many? How are they reproducing? Right? We know most extraterrestrials, and I think all of them, as far as I know, what I know, do like the pod thing or the hybrid thing, or both. Right? Hybrids in the pod. They don't have like intercourse like we do to procreate, but
Mom,
cryptids have to do the same thing.
Yeah. They would have to.
The only exception would be the Jersey Devil, because we don't know if there's one Jersey Devil that's been here for millennia, or if there are many. And if there are many, how come it's always the same size? And it seems like it's always the same one. But then again, how would we know?
Yeah. Well, it's like the Wendigo. The Wendigo doesn't need to breed, so.
That's true. Because that's supernatural. Guys, there's so much to it. There's so many different facets and aspects.
Oh, yeah.
What's up, Raymond, and anyone else that I missed? So I just want to read this real quick. It's totally random, but I came across it. I can't think of I guarantee you the story I'm thinking of is the Frogman. I guarantee you I just didn't put it together, because the way that you guys described it is exactly what I was thinking in my head, but I couldn't picture the entity. So it's probably Frogman. And but I'll find out. So listen to this. A teenager who was ridiculed after his family called 911 to report seeing a 10-foot-tall alien in their backyard has spoken out a year later and is sticking by the story. Angel K, 17, claimed that he was with his family in the yard of their Las Vegas home on the night of the 30th of April, 2023, when a bright light came crashing into the ground and he saw a, quote, giant creature, end quote. Other witnesses reported seeing a bright light, which was captured on a police officer's body camera footage. So the light was captured on a police officer's body camera footage. It happened. The family called 911 with the caller telling the dispatcher, quote, "I swear to God, this is not a joke. This is actually, we're terrified," end quote. Multiple family members corroborated the story to police officers, with one heard on body cam recording saying he saw a, quote, shooting star, and now these people say there are aliens in their backyard, end quote. Crazy.
Okay.
Interesting.
Here's the deal on this. Actually, that young man has spoke out again. We talked about this. I think I talked about this on one of my streams. After this happened, he come back out saying that now he's being haunted by a dark figure in his dreams after this happened. There's also footage of when they were standing in the backyard, they all come. If you see the footage, they all come running in out of the backyard through the gate. And you can see a really tall black shadow standing on the other side of the fence right behind the gate. And the footage is really interesting. But now the kid thinks that it was something demonic. He's actually asking if a priest will come and bless the house and bless him.
Let me drop down for
having nightmares
1 minute. I got somebody at my door. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead. There's a lot of people that do believe there's a connection between ETs and demons. And I don't really get into it because the religious aspect, did Jesus die for their sins too? You know, I don't know the answers to that. You guys, most of you know what I believe as far as my religious beliefs. Jesus is a rock star, but I don't want to push that on any of you or make you change your opinion of me because of it. So I try to leave it neutral, okay, as best as I can sometimes. But a lot of people wonder, are extraterrestrials like, what is it, the Nephilim, or are they fallen angels? No, I don't believe so. But I do believe that the darkness that is these lower vibrational entities, spirits, beings, like shadow entities, like Hat Man, I mean, take your pick, there are a million of them, are connected energetically and in maybe some ways I can't even conceive of to the lower vibrational, more demonic type ETs. Because not all ETs are love, light, and peace. I mean, we see that with the reptilians, with the tall grays. So are they on some level what we perceive as demonic, but really it's all the same thing?
And then you're right. There's good and bad. You can't have one without the other. I think what happened was, after he had the encounter, he was having nightmares. Then he complained about seeing a large, dark shadow that hangs around in the house and in his bedroom. Apparently, he was the first one to actually see this thing. So maybe it scared him crapless to the point now he's having nightmares.
Yeah, the trauma.
He wanted to be exercised. He wanted to be blessed. And this was about 3 weeks ago, and I've heard nothing from him since. But this is the same situation that happened in Miami if you listen, there's like 1,000 stories about what went down in Miami. But a number of people said these kids came in, these really funky looking kids came into that mall area, put down a box and turned it on, and it started making a weird noise. And it was like a portal opened up, and this strange creature came out of the portal, and everybody went running because it was in shadow form, but it looked so weird. And I've heard like 3 stories about that. That's kind of the same situation, but these guys had a box. So, but you don't know what to believe with that one because there's like a ton of stories about the one stuff that went down in Miami. But it's weird that all these police, I mean, you had literally 2 police forces show up. I mean, they literally had that whole mall area surrounded.
I still haven't looked into the Miami event.
There's a lot to unpack there. There's a whole lot to unpack because if they left something,
I thought it was proven fake, so I didn't bother wasting my time with it. But now that I'm hearing it
as it leaks out.
Here's the thing, though, Ghost. I mean, if they left something on the ground, especially at a mall, that's why there were so many cops, because the cops have to be there in case it's
yeah, it was a bomb or something.
So they're going to send vast amounts of cops if they think it's some kind of explosive or whatever. I mean, here, if somebody's starting trouble, you're going to get like 10 police cars coming just to their house.
Right.
So if they think it's a bomb, there's going to be squadrons of cops showing up there. And I think people dismiss that way too easily.
Well, they said there was gunfire too, but somebody
there
said
you go. That's why.
But people said the gunshots weren't like gunshots. It was a crackling, popping noise that this box made when they turned it on.
Well, that's all the more reasons for the cops to show up. If it's making weird sounds, then cops are to be like, "Oh, it's a bomb." They got to get bomb squad. They got to get SWAT. They got to get EMTs.
But,
so,
I mean, they had a ton of them there. But
to touch on the nightmares that kid was having, I can tell you from taking a lot of reports about cryptids, nightmares are very common. The whole trauma thing, it sinks deep, and they have nightmares sometimes for weeks or months after seeing a cryptid.
I had nightmares after I.
Do we think that they're? I'm sorry, Stephen. You just know me. No. If I don't say it right away, I'll lose my thought.
Go ahead.
For example, do we think that the nightmares are a natural phenomenon that's happening because our subconscious is very stressed out, or our conscious minds are very stressed out? Or do we think that, or do you think that there's a connection where actually the cryptid itself is instilling the nightmare in the person to feed off of the fear? Because I know shadow entities, they will not only give you sleep paralysis and attack you. If you're not open enough for that, they will give you nightmares and attack you by feeding off of you in that way while you're still asleep. If they feel like you're too strong, your energy's too strong, you're not broken down enough for them to get you in a state of sleep paralysis, as we call it, they will attack you by sending nightmares. Just like the spirit of people we love can come to our dreams. Why would we not think these lower vibrational ethereal entities or beings can do the same thing? So do we think, or do you think that cryptids are doing that, or maybe putting it in their head, or is it just maybe the stress of it all? Because I mean, it sounds more than coincidental that everyone would be having nightmares for the most part, right?
It's a little bit of both. I don't think everybody has nightmares when they come into cryptids. I think it depends on the encounter. You know, I mean, like mine, I wasn't having nightmares. I was a little traumatized and didn't want to go out at night, but I wasn't having nightmares about it. So I think it depends on the severity of the encounter, what kind of cryptid is you're encountering, and, you know, your preconceived notion on those cryptids too. Because if you run into a dogman and you don't know what a dogman is, you only believe in werewolves, then in your mind, you just saw a werewolf. So you're going to have these terrible nightmares that werewolf is stalking you, that the werewolf's behind every corner, you know, whereas Bigfoot, you know, we kind of have that more docile, gentle view of Bigfoot. So for some people, you'll see a Bigfoot and be like, oh, how beautiful. And some people will have nightmares about it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it could be a little bit of both in play there.
You just said, oh, I saw a werewolf. If my mom's still listening, we've talked about it before. There's a show where this guy is telling the story about how he saw a werewolf. And he believes that it was a woman who invited him out into the middle of nowhere to meet her for a date. He asked for her number. She said she didn't have a phone. It was the 80s. She's like, but you can meet me at this park after dark on this night. So he drives like 2 hours out of the way to the middle of the woods. Anyway, him and these 3 kids he meets just playing basketball at the park. She doesn't show up. He's like, well, I guess I got stood up. Let me hang out with these dudes. They're walking on the railroad tracks to go and find something that, like some alcohol. They want to go to a bar. And I mean, guys, it's Terror in the Woods. And the name of it is It Was an Effing Werewolf, right? The way the guy says it, he's like, I'll tell you what, I was looking at a effing werewolf. She wanted her Friday night dinner. His name was Roy, and he was hilarious.
Oh my God. I knew that guy. I knew Roy Stubblefield. Wendy Williams. Yeah.
Love him. We love that guy. We watch that episode every time we're together when we're going to sleep.
I have a lot to tell you then after the show.
Please do. I would love to. My mom wants to know, did it happen though?
Oh boy. Wendy, do you want to field that question?
I'll tell you what Ryan and Steven tell me after stream. But if there's anything y'all want to say about it, I think that'd be fine. But Wendy says Roy's encounter was true. You have to understand, Roy is like near and dear to mine and my mom's heart because he's hilarious. And he tells the story how I could imagine my mom telling the story, curse words and all. So you guys got to tell me, and I'm going to have to tell my mom.
Yep. I mean, I think he saw something. I think Roy saw something. I do. Was it embellished a bit? Maybe.
Well, I think when TV stations and stuff start to get involved, like I even notice sometimes with me, and like I'm so small time, when people send me in their encounters that they want me to use in a book, a lot of the time I'll have to message them back and be like, all right, let's take this from the top. And just so you know, you don't have to embellish anything, even if it's a simple encounter. And they'll send me back a much simpler version of the story without all the bells and whistles. So I think that does happen when you get put into the spotlight. And but I would love to hear what actually happened. I know my mom would, because
it's just like the encounter I had down in Logan with a friend of mine, 2 other friends of mine during the camping. Well, we weren't camping. We were staying at a friend's. They had one of those prefabs sitting on a bunch of land that they had done up. And that encounter, I still think it was a werewolf. She was sad. I could feel her. I could feel a human presence within her. But that's me. That's just me.
My question is, though,
we talked about this before this.
My question is about that, though, with the werewolf, okay? With the entire werewolf, when the werewolf takes over, there is no human left, okay? So to feel any human emotion from a beast where the human is driven out, it wouldn't really line up with what they say about werewolf.
I have a question about that, though. I have a question. So the one thing I can say, Ghost, to back you up, is that even if the human is driven out, sometimes there's an energetic imprint that will remain behind. So it may not necessarily be a part of the werewolf. It may just be lingering around. Because the human was once there. So that's what I would say in your defense. I think that might have been what you're feeling. As far as werewolves, and I know you've answered this before, but I just need you to tell me one more time because I forgot, and it's so interesting to me. So I always say werewolves are real, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on what I'm about to say, and I think I might need to be corrected so I can put the right information out. Werewolves are real, but they're not like you see in the movies where someone like rips out of their clothes and their bones would be broken and they would be left to nothing. There's no way for their bones to go back to normal, their face, the snout to shrink. How does that work? I understand with skinwalkers how it works. There's there's a big difference there, which I didn't know until I started talking to you. I didn't know the difference. But how does the werewolf thing work? And then after that, we'll end, unless you guys have any more.
Personally, I think what happened with werewolves is the Dogman inspired the werewolf tales. Now, you got to remember, Dogman is a newer term, okay? That was coined by a DJ in Wisconsin that wanted to make the Beast of Bray Road really popular. Linda Godfrey carried on with the Dogman name. But werewolf tales are a tale as old as time. So what happened is they probably saw the Dogman running about in the woods, and they assumed, because they were very superstitious, that it was a man or a woman that was cursed or whatever, and that's what werewolves came from.
And they came up with the term werewolf, but that's actually what we know today as Dogman, and Dogman is a more fitting name. Right. Like, is that what you're saying?
Loup-garou. Means man.
Called lycanthrope, which is like a disease. Which is like a disease. It's like a vampiric disease.
Yeah, like
where it bites
that
you.
I know. Yeah.
and it takes over your bloodstream, just like if you become a vampire.
But that was even named after a Greek emperor, though, a Roman emperor, Lycos, like Cohen, who he was cursed to become a wolf because he tried to feed a human body to Zeus, and Zeus was so enraged with him that he turned him into a wolf.
Yes.
What were you going to say about the Loot Guru or the Rougarou? Raymond, if you're struggling, come and stream or email me. We can talk.
So Loup Garou in French means man wolf. Okay, that's what that means. So that kind of shows that maybe the French were even seeing the dog men, and they looked so much like upright wolves, they called them the man wolf, the Loup Garou.
I actually covered a couple of stories in my werewolf encounters videos that took place way back in the day, like the 16th century, 15th century in France, where they were talking about that. And the reason I laugh when you say Loup Garou, or my mom was trying to tell me one time about this Roy story. I hadn't seen it yet. This was like 2 or 3 years ago. And she was going the Rougarou, and I had no idea what she was talking about. And instead, you know how like when someone is not understanding you, you just say it louder. Like she started saying it louder and louder. And I'm like, Mom, it's not that I can't hear you. I don't understand what you're saying. And she just I was laughing so hard. It's just a funny memory. Guys,
that's an ironic thing. That's ironic because the term Rougarou, the reason why they call it the Rougarou is because the Blackfoot had a hard time pronouncing Loup Garou. So when the Blackfoot would say Loup Garou, it would come out as Rougarou. So your mom actually had the same problem as the Blackfoot. That's awesome.
I was laughing, and my mom is Native American, and it's just funny because she's laughing because I just had no idea, and I was like, "What the?" And I was dying because I thought she was seriously butchering the name of something else. And then when I saw Roy's story, I understood more what she was talking about. That was before my Bigfoot channeling accidental session, so I wasn't into cryptids. I didn't know about any of this stuff.
That's too funny.
Yeah, so I'm gonna head out, guys. I want to play Fortnite. Okay. What else? If you guys have other stuff, if you guys want to hang out or whatever, but I've got an hour to kill, so
I'm good.
We can always pick up the discussion later.
Yeah, and you guys definitely have to either text me about Roy, send a voice text, or maybe we could talk. I need to know because my mom is not going to let me rest now until I tell her. So, Ryan,
I'll let Ryan.
You could send voice text. All right.
Okay, you got
just
it.
Let me know. Everybody else, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Have a good day, everybody. I'm done.
Oh, he's so sweet. Ryan, you have the sweetest energy. You just are like, I don't know. You just seem like such a nice guy.
I try. I heard
Very
that goes.
Cool to have you part of the show, and everybody is just so ecstatic to see you. So keep up the great work, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Maybe Ghost will see you before that, and I'll talk to you later. Please text me.
Okay, you got it. I will.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Ghost, are you jumping on with me?
Yes, I'll be there.
All right, I'll be right there. Let me bring the show out. I got a few announcements. Yeah, he's a sweetheart. Well, all men in my life are in the friend zone. I'm a married woman. What do you think I am, Netter? So have a great day, guys. What do we got coming up? Today's Tuesday. So tomorrow I have my son's little mini graduation from kindergarten and my all-day doctor. Friday, I will be at his school from 9 to 3 running a station at the field day. So I'm losing some work there. I may not get 2 videos out Monday, but I'm trying my best. But I will be here for Friday Night Live Intuitive Oracle at 7:15 p.m. Eastern. Hop on in. Tomorrow night, I believe it's 10 p.m. Wendy, hold that thought. That just made me think of something. 10 p.m. just to hang out. Ryan sometimes joins him. And then Thursday night, if Laura won't go on, I'll see if Ghost and Ryan can take over like they did last week. She's dealing with some personal stuff, and we're going to give her as much time as she needs. Then Friday, Saturday nights, replays of my old videos. You can watch me embarrass myself as I sputter and stutter through with crooked eyebrows that I had no idea how to put on because I don't know how to do makeup. And that's the gist of it, guys. Wendy, you're like, what's going on? Is there another live? Like, you want to go Like you're at the bar and you want to go to another bar. You don't want the night to end. I love you guys so much. My mom is actually the one in here named Mom. I don't know how she got that name, but you'll see her floating around like in my comments, in the live streams. Whenever you see Mom and everyone starts saying, "Hi, Mom," that's actually my mother. That's my bestie. I love you guys so much. Thanks for making my day that much brighter, and I'll see you all on Friday.